Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Catherine Baker, and you're about to listen to the very first episode of my podcast, FandotDomdotcom. Oh god, why does that sound so pretentious? Ooh, my podcast, I'm an intellectual who knows how to edit. Ooh. But anyways, enough of the self-deprecating humor. Fan.dom.com is what I hope will be a study of people and the various media they consume. From TV shows to video games to online memes and communities, I want to know all about it. But there aren't many hours in the day to watch, read, listen, or however you consume media to enjoy all of it. So how can you know what's good enough to consume? Or what's bad enough to consume? Each episode, I will have a new guest that will be championing a piece of media they consume and that they love. Love so much that they're willing to talk to me for an hour plus. Now, the media they pick will be something that I know little to nothing about, and in the end, they will have to convince me, and you, the audience, if the morsel of entertainment has any value of consumption. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and mama's hungry. So welcome to fan.dom.com, where fans are always on top. My first guess is my friend since elementary school. How about you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm not going to say any of my Twitter shit because honestly it's super embarrassing. But yeah, I like a lot of nerd shit, so hello.
Yes, you're a very good test subject.
Yeah.
So, tell me what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, today I want to talk about Undertale, but not like just the video game. I want to talk specifically about the fandom community, which a lot of people don't like because it's a little, they think it's cringy, which in some parts it is, but also like what isn't cringy these days? So like, who fucking cares? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, first, I don't give a shit. You know that.
Okay, coolio. In the Undertale universe, people really fucking love Sans Undertale.
Oh, do they now?
Or sometimes they like to say his last name is Sans Serif. They call him Mr. Serif sometimes. It's really dumb.
I didn't know that. I thought there was also because he's named after Comic Sans.
Mm-hmm.
So is his name Comic Sans Undertale?
It could be. It depends on the writer.
Is Sans his middle name?
He just goes by Sans. I don't know. There's a lot in that fandom to go over. So where do you want to start?
Well, I guess I'll start by saying what I know of. I know a lot about Undertale because I've played the video game and I really like it. The music is top fucking notch. I listened to that all throughout my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great. The motifs are great. The story is great. The characters are funny and dumb, and I love them.
Toby Fox is great.
Toby Fox is great. What a good man.
I love him.
I love how he was living in Hussy's basement, just playing some keyboard notes, and he's like, I'm gonna make a video game, and he did. And then he made a sequel and was like, how much for it, Mr. Fox? He's like, no, it's free. He's like, oh, thank you.
I can't wait for him to get a team for that. That's gonna be really exciting.
I'm excited because it looks great.
I just want to get more information about the universe because I think this is going to be a little sneak peek into everything else.
I thought it was hilarious that it's not the connected universe, but it's still the same characters we know. So when everyone, when we went top up and we saw everyone's neighbors and it was like, Sans! And everyone was so excited to see Sans. You remember me, buddy, right? It's I have no idea who the fuck you are. Who are you?
What's funny is when I went to go talk to him, I thought about that. And I was like, I can't just say, hey, Sans, because I don't know him in this timeline or whatever. So I put the other option of saying, who the fuck are you? And he was like, yeah, who am I? I don't know. And I was like, ugh.
No, I straight up went Sans, I love your Mr. Undertale. I love your work.
Mr. Undertale, I love you. Ha, thanks. I have no idea who you are.
Yeah, it's when you go meet a voice actor at a con and you're like, I love your work, and they're like, thanks, who are you? Buy my merch.
Here, buy my shit.
Buy my
Pay
merch.
$50 for my autograph.
Exactly.
So yeah, actually Deltarune is really interesting to start off with because in the Undertale fandom specifically, they make a lot of alternate universes. AUs, as I call them. People call them AUs.
So I like
saying AUs because that's how you say it.
That's how it's pronounced.
AWU.
Yeah.
Okay, not AWU because that's AWU, but Anyway, because Deltarune kind of takes place in an alternate timeline, people have been saying like Toby Fox kind of, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, we're not sure, but kind of confirmed that alternate universes are in fact a thing. Like,
oh, he opened up the floodgates.
Yeah, he basically confirmed that, like, it basically let people be justified in making their alternate universes because, like, it's canon now. It's canon that there's another universe. We don't know what that entails yet, why there's an alternate timeline.
Undertales.
Yes. Oh, my God. So, we're not sure yet, but a lot of people are really excited about that.
Well, I follow you on Tumblr.
Oh.
So I see, the shit that you reblog. So what I know about all the Undertale universes is basically from you, and we've talked about it before, and it's very like, okay, cool, this guy's in red, and he's got sharp teeth, and then there's also a glitch, and then there's also like a swap where like Sans is Papyrus and Papyrus is Sans.
Yes.
There's just like a whole basket of boys essentially, and you can just pick out of the basket.
You can just pick one, and like which flavor of Sans would you like? Would you like edgy? Would you like vanilla version?
Would you like another edgy, and then also like
would you
edgy?
like murderous one, or how about sad boy? They're all sad boys. What am I kind of kidding?
Do you like edgy 1, edgy 2, or edgy extreme?
3? Extreme. Yeah,
Dorito flavor.
Dorito flavor.
Nacho blasted edgy boy.
Oh boy, so many boys. So yeah, there's a big part of the active Undertale community right now is the alternate universe community. Most people, at least the ones that I've seen, focus on Sans and Papyrus.
Now, why do you think that is?
I'm honestly not sure. I know Sans because he's so mysterious and like also apathetic, and he at the very end of the game does a complete 180 where he like bites you and actually kicks your butt a lot. Like it really intrigued a lot of people. It actually intrigued me a lot. He was actually the reason I looked into Undertale in the first place. I didn't even have any attraction to him. I actually thought it was super weird that people were like, oh, I want to fuck this skeleton. I was like, I don't know about that, but obviously now.
That's a dangerous slope, because as soon as like you see someone who wants to fuck something and you investigate, then you're like, you go down that slope and you're like, I want to fuck.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, now I see why. But how I got into Undertale in the first place was I watched Dodger play it, and I had it playing in the background. I fell asleep, and I woke up to the part with Flowey, where he's like, evil
that
and
woke you
super
up.
shit. Yeah, it woke me up, and it spooked me. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I thought Undertale was just like some shitty like 2D game. Because I used to be uncultured and hate 2D games. And I just wanted 3D shit, most realistic. But then I was actually really intrigued. So I went to the beginning, I watched a little bit of it, and then I got terrified with the introduction of Sans, because he sneaks behind you.
Yeah.
You just see the shadows, and I hate things that just are in the peripheral vision. So I was like, oh fuck, who is this guy? He's gonna get fucked up. And then he just, shakes your hand and has a fucking whoopee cushion, and it's like, oh. So I think that's
and then you became intrigued.
Whenever I first played Undertale, I wasn't as into him. I just was like, oh, he's fun, right? And then I, went on with it and played the game. But whenever I went online to like the fandoms and shit, I really like him because he just feels realistic and chill, and like
someone you could go grab a beer with.
Yeah, grab a beer with, just chill with. He just seems really nice and like, well, I don't know about nice, kind of like an asshole, but like a fun asshole. So like I enjoy that aspect. And then of course like people really amped up the, kinky side.
No, okay, so why people make him kinky? Because in the game he has no like...
He has no libido. Canonically, actually, a lot of people can think of him as asexual.
Okay.
At least the original version. But then there's like the fanon version where he's like, ooh, let me get up in that. But
so could you, for people who don't know, what is canon and what is fandom?
Canon, Sans, at least from what we can tell, and a lot of it isn't confirmed because Toby doesn't really talk about that kind of shit. Is we know Sans is apathetic. We know he likes to pick on his brother. but that he cares for him. But we definitely do know that he picks on his brother because he kind of, there's some lines he says in the game, I can't remember what they are, but there's some things that he says that really piss Papyrus off, like his puns. Papyrus actually loves puns. Mm-hmm. He just hates his brother's puns because he says them all the time, I'm sure.
Very sibling-like.
Yeah. So they have a nice, interesting dynamic, and I also, Papyrus canonically is not as dense as people portray him in a lot of media. Mm-hmm. He is actually very, very smart, and he has a lot of power. He could easily beat you, probably be as powerful as Sans, but he holds himself back because he's such a nice guy. Mm-hmm. I really hate when people portray Papyrus as like this innocent little being, which he is an innocent little being, but he's also an innocent little smart being who is a little more conniving than he lets on. So that's the canon version of them, at least. You know, we got the goofy brother who doesn't really try. Well, he fakes like he doesn't really try, but he actually has like a bunch of jobs. It's like a juxtaposition sort of deal. You know, you have the hardworking brother who tries to get into things, wants to be friends with everybody, but because he comes on too strong, he doesn't have a lot of friends, but he doesn't let that get to him. He just kind of keeps his head up and keeps going, and eventually that gets him friends. And then you have Sans, who doesn't try at all and has tons of friends. Like, everyone talks to him. Yeah. Everyone knows him. Mm-hmm. He like goes to the comedy club and like does stand-up comedy. And he's like an anomaly. He's just the weird one out. I mean, Papyrus too, like in the video game, you know, they were like, oh, they just showed up one day and asserted themselves. Mm-hmm. So like they just appeared.
So there's also like this air of mystery to him. So he's like apathetic, and he's kind of just like friends with anyone, but doesn't really make any sense, and he's kind of there always. But there's also this air of mystery to him. And I feel like a lot of the times when there's like an air of mystery, people will insert a lot of like different theories and characterizations.
Yeah.
So that's where canon comes in.
Yeah.
So could you explain the fan canon for Sans?
So it depends on which Sans you look at, because a lot of different people have different things for how they like to portray him. Mm-hmm. Some people portray him as really apathetic to the point that he just doesn't care about anything. Mm-hmm. Like he's kind of sadistic and shit like that. Well, not sadistic, but he just doesn't give a shit, right? And then he actually ends up hurting people in like an aggressive way. And I don't really like that version of him because it's not close to the original. There's also another version we're talking about original Sans here. We're not talking about the alternate universes because that's a whole different bag.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
He's portrayed as sometimes hating humans, like despising them, which I actually enjoy because it adds an interesting dynamic in like fan fictions. You know, by the way, I read reader inserts, of course, because I am a fucking fangirl and I just want him to love me forever. So whenever he hates humans, it's never really confirmed. I don't think he really does. To
me, I always see it as like he's a very neutral person.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't care, I exist.
As long as you don't fuck with his brother.
Even if you can kill his brother and nobody else, and all he does is tell you you're a terrible person, but he won't fight you.
Really?
Yeah, he won't fight you. So it's not because of his brother. Okay. He doesn't even defend his brother. He only fights you if it's the last thing like that he can do. Whenever you do pure genocide route and you kill everybody, he knows he has to get in. He has to. Because if you just kill a couple people, it's whatever. You just killed a couple people, but you're gonna reset. He maybe doesn't really know the resets happen, but he can gauge he can say certain things and see how you react. And if you react like you already knew something was happening, he'll be like, interesting. So like he has an idea. He just, a lot of people also fanonize. They like to think that.
Listen, we make up a lot of words when it comes to fandom. So you fandalize. I believe fandalize is what
Fandalize.
Whatever. But let's make up words. It's our own vocab.
So a lot of people like to say that Sans remembers the resets, which is a very interesting topic in like fan fictions, especially if they're dealing with like where the reader is the main character instead of Frisk. It's very interesting, which is different between Franz, which is Frisk x Sans, which people will do adult like Frisk is an adult.
Yeah, that personally, I never really liked that.
Yeah, I didn't mind because Frisk is I inserted myself onto Frisk whenever I played them.
Which I guess is the point of Frisk. That is the character that you play, so you're supposed to insert yourself.
Yeah.
But to me, it's always been like, that is...
a child.
That's a child.
Yeah.
That is a child.
I definitely don't like art where they are underdeveloped, you know, and it's pretty obvious. And
I've seen some stuff where they just, like, slap some tits on them and make them grow.
Yeah.
Like, to like, be 5 foot tall. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that either.
Yeah, but, what was my point? Oh, but Sans doesn't remember the resets. He doesn't. He only has an inkling of, like, he does research where he can see these anomalies in the timeline, and he's like, that's weird, and then he puts 2 and 2 together, and he's like, okay, I got you.
How people see Sans, like canon Sans, how do they see him, and how does that develop into the split personality versions of him?
So I would say generic Fandom Sans. Usually people portray him as goofy. Usually people portray him as a little apathetic. They also think that he remembers the resets and, you know, will give you a bad time or whatever. And they also sometimes like to say he has a human fetish. Like...
Okay, sure, yeah.
Where, like, because he doesn't have skin, he finds it interesting that, like, you have skin and shit. And he takes a more scientific, like, investigation of humans. I like that. I enjoy that.
I don't know if I like that.
Well, because it's more realistic, I think, for, like, a monster to be like, this is weird. You're a little bit weird. Let me poke you a bit.
Let me poke this your fleshy jello flesh.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so that's a lot of the common fanon versions of him. And then there's other offshoots. Sometimes they see him more of like a dominant where he's like, ooh. But...
yes, because as you know, all doms make ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I meant like he's like, oh, hey, baby, let me get up in there. And they're like, ah. Like, but then other people, you know, make him really awkward where he's like, hey, what's up? Haha. Which I like a lot more.
You like awkward.
Yeah,
baby, what's
awkward,
up?
weird baby Sans. Yes. So that's the main fanon version of him. But then you go into the territory of alternate universes because you can only alter the original version so much until you stray away from who he is as a person.
Okay, so where did that start? What was like the ground zero of?
I think
who started that?
We're not sure because when I joined the fandom a little bit late. I joined it like 2 months after the game come out, so they didn't have a lot other than like the original fan art and like Sans himself. But people, I think someone, and they came back recently. The person who made the first original Underfell design, which is like Undertale if the universe was flipped, where instead of everyone being nice and wanting to be friends with you, they wanted to kill you like in a normal like monster versus human game. And so they're all edgy and aggressive.
Jesus
and
Christ.
they created the designs originally and then just kind of disappeared off the internet for like several years.
Yeah.
And then they just came back. Like they just showed up and were like, hey, I made Underfell, by the way. You guys can keep whatever things you guys write about, but I'm going to write the canon stuff for Underfell.
Okay.
So now that game's changed completely.
So what you're saying is you have Undertale.
Yeah.
The original Undertale. Then you have, what's it called?
Underfell.
Underfell with its own canon.
Yes.
So Underfell is like a fanon shot off of Undertale.
Yes.
Underfell also has its own shot offs that other people have.
Yes.
It's
this like
bitch got layers.
Yes, it's really complicated.
Okay.
It's hard for me to even describe.
Is there like a graph that someone has made?
I'm sure it exists somewhere. I haven't found it, but I also just kind of know it, and like people usually give the different characters nicknames. It depends on the person. Generally, Underfell Sans is called Red because he's red. He red. Underfell Papyrus is usually called Edge or Black. One of those two. I know, it's so stupid.
It's so edgy.
I know.
It was literally named Edge.
That's why he's called that, because he's edgy. Like, that's the joke.
Is he in YouTube?
Huh? U2?
Yeah, U2 the band. There's a band member named The Edge.
Oh, okay. He's not in U2.
So who created Underfell?
I don't know their name. They never released a name, but their blog, I think, is just called Underfell.
So it's like Underfell.
Yeah, it's just called Underfell, and they have a very unique art style, and you can definitely tell they were the original creators. So because they were gone for so long, though, other people started adding on like stuff to Underfell, and I'm going to talk about Underfell because I really like Underfell. It's my favorite version, aside from the original. And basically, you know, Underfell is like they're all turned evil. So like you have Alphys, who's like a crazy doctor scientist, you know, and does crazy experiments. You have
that's canon. That's essentially that's already canon.
That's canon. I think she still is like nervous, but she's less like, you know, ooh, I don't know, I'm so shy, and more like, oh, get out of here, I'm gonna beat you up, you know, that kind of shit. And like she made, I think canonically she coerced Mettaton into being a robot. He didn't want to, so she kind of forced him to do it, and then kind of made him her servant.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of does her bidding, and he's not very happy about it. I'm thinking, I don't know if this is canon. I've seen people write about this a lot, though, that because Mettaton's loved in the underground, Underfell Mettaton is hated and ridiculed, and it's really sad. It's really fucking sad. So that's...
I don't like that.
But not in all of them. Sometimes he's just an asshole, but also really popular because he murders people for fun. I don't know. So there's different versions. You also have Undyne, who's just
So wait, Undyne in canon is like a violent.
Yes.
You know, she's
even more violent in Underfell.
Oh, okay. I thought they was gonna do a flip where she's nice or something.
She's not, because the Underfell is where everyone's evil, not flipped.
Okay.
So Undyne is pretty very aggressive. I haven't seen too much of her. She acts pretty similar to Undertale Undyne, except for she doesn't just warm up to you and call you bro or whatever. She's still like, you know, snide and, you know, makes comments about you, how weak you are. And she also she hates Papyrus. In some versions, Papyrus even overtakes her position as captain, and she wants to get it back, so she's actually like a villain that's like hiding around in a waterfall and wants to like murder Papyrus or whatever.
So what's the I can't believe I'm saying what's the canon to the fandom of Underfell? What's canon?
I would say the canon thing is Undyne is still the captain, but Papyrus is like a fierce rival.
Okay.
And he's very close to overtaking her position. And she doesn't want that to happen, so she's very aggressive towards Papyrus, and they have a huge rivalry that's not just like friendly, it's like I'm gonna kill you kind of rivalry. Which brings me to Papyrus. Most people portray him as a walking, talking dick. Like literally, he's just like.
It's like hold on, gotta get the imagery of that. I'm just imagining an erect dick.
Pretty much.
With balls moving as legs.
Yes, literally. He's usually portrayed as a stuck-up, egotistical asshole who takes all of his anger out on his brother and just like hates puns. He also wears edgy, like he wears boots to make himself taller.
So
you know, heels basically.
He frequents Hot Topic.
Yes, literally. He has huge, big like shoulder pads that are spiky, and he shows his midriff, and you know he's just like. And
that boy shops at Hot Topic.
Yeah, and you know he people like to say that, you know, the edges of his cheeks are pointy, and they like to say that he like shaved them down to be pointy. So yeah, he's just generally like, I am the best and no one else is.
That's also canon though.
Yeah, but in a rude way. Not Papyrus, who's like, yeah, I'm the best and I'm gonna help everyone with me. Underfell's Papyrus is more like, I'm the best and I'm going to crush everyone so I can get there. And then, I don't know if canonically Papyrus and Sans hate each other. I don't remember. I think it's more like Papyrus just is tired of Sans bullshit, where Sans is just like, ha 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 ha, I'm not going to try, and also I'm a shitty brother. And Papyrus is like, yeah, I know.
So that brings us to
Sans, my boy. Okay, so I know canonically he has anxiety. He has anxiety and he sweats a lot because he's nervous all the time.
Okay.
Which is funny because he's a skeleton. He has red sweat, by the way, because it's magic. It's like he sweats magic.
So it just looks like he's bleeding all the time.
No, it looks like it's not like red. It's like light red.
So he's dripping Kool-Aid all the time.
Pretty much. He's just excreting Kool-Aid from his skull.
Oh boy. Oh man. Oh man.
And then he also.
Yeah.
He's missing a tooth in the front, and he replaced it with a golden tooth.
I think I've seen that.
So he has one golden tooth.
And it's sharp, right?
Yes, it's all of his teeth are sharp. And I think the golden tooth, he lost his tooth. I can't remember how he lost it. It's something dumb, though. Like, something stupid happened, and he just replaced it with a gold tooth. I wish I remembered, but I don't. Some people also like to fanonize that he, like, Papyrus took his tooth out, or, he lost it in a fight or something, which he probably did, but I don't like to say that Papyrus. I like when the brothers are brothers, okay? I don't like when Papyrus just beats the shit out of Sans, which that happens a lot. A lot of people fanonize that Papyrus just literally destroys his brother, just like beats the shit out of him, and Sans just lets it happen because he loves his brother or whatever. I hate that shit. I fucking despise it. Anyway, so he also is usually a big asshole. I know canonically in Underfell he doesn't like puns, but he likes knock jokes.
All right.
So he hates puns, but he likes knock jokes. I think he also is very much apathetic. He doesn't, but even more so, he just doesn't give a shit about anything. Cusses more. Has a big fluffy jacket where like he has the white of the hood like makes him look bigger. And of course, you've got the fanon version where he's like real kinky.
So the fan version.
Oh yeah, but like I think that version, it's very widely accepted as canon, even though it's not, because he's just such a dick and also so charming in a dick way.
I think you have a type.
I do a little bit. I like assholes. You know this. So yeah, that's the gist of Underfell. There's some other things like Toriel's kind of like a crazy mom type. She, just wants to keep you as her daughter or whatever, son, or your child. Sibling, your child. That's what I couldn't think of the word. Your child. And if you don't leave, she's gonna burn you.
The kid version of you.
The kid version of you.
Baby,
Underfell,
but bigger.
I'm trying to think of other main characters. Am I missing anybody?
Well, my favorite is Fish Girl.
Undyne.
Yeah,
but I talked to her a little bit.
Yeah.
There's Asgore too. Yeah. Asgore is usually just a huge dick. He's just like the villain, like the ultimatum villain.
The big bad.
Yeah.
The big bad boss.
So this most people focus on Sans, Papyrus, and sometimes Alphys and Undyne. That's about it. Oh, Muffet! Muffet! Okay.
I love her.
Underfell Muffet is fun because she is just as like, scheming, conniving, in the game, but worse. 10 times worse, and it's fantastic. I know my favorite artist for Underfell usually is a person named Poetax.
Poetax.
Yeah, Poetax, like Poetax, Poetax. And they do wonderful art. They have great fan fictions. She's, I think, demisexual, so it really resonates with me, especially because it doesn't just jump into the sex. And I don't think she's even written sex. It's just the characters interacting. And it's really fulfilling and nice to read. Because it's not just like, ooh, let me stick my dick in you. It like actually has substance, So
it's got plot.
Yeah, exactly. And she writes a lot of Muffet in with her fan fictions too. And Muffet is portrayed as this, at least in Poetax's version of Underfell, they all have like a rough exterior, but they're really like nice inside. They're used to living a hard life, so they're like, ugh, I gotta act aggressive. But whenever you show them kindness, they're like, I don't know how to react to this. Oh, and, whatever. But Muffet, she's, still has her bakery, and, but she still charges a shit ton for her bakery stuff. That's her as a character. She's fun. We're gonna move on to a different topic other than Underfell, because I could talk about Underfell all day. So we'll go to the next popular one, which is Underswap, which is...
I think I know Underswap.
Yeah.
I've seen some of Underswap.
Tell me what you know about Underswap.
Underswap is where Papyrus and Sans are swapped.
Mm-hmm. Alphys.
I almost said Albus.
Albus Dumbledore.
Albus Dumbledore is in Undertale. Alphys and I think Undying are swapped. Mm-hmm. And then like Asgore and Toriel are swapped, I think. Mm-hmm. That's basically all I know. Like all their personalities.
That's the basic version. Also, Muffet and Grillby are usually swapped. So Grillby's kind of like the crazy one that serves tasty treats, and Muffet's more like the calm, collected one that owns a bar, which is I think is really interesting because also like cute Spider Girl owns a bar and is also really chill. It's like yes. The Fireman really never did it for me.
Everyone wanted to fuck Grillby.
Yeah, everyone did.
But he's literally made of fire.
He's made of fire, which honestly, because I want to fuck a skeleton, I don't give a shit. Magic, whatever. But he never interested me as a character because in the game, he just stands there and does nothing. Mm-hmm. That's his character, basically. I mean, there's more to him, but...
I mean, like that, like a character like that. Also, he wears a suit. And if you put any character in a suit, people are going to be like, that's him.
Anyway, I knew a girl who wanted to fuck Grillby real bad, but then gave me shit for wanting to fuck Sans. And I was like, really? Really?
Hey, kettle, I'm a pot.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's basically all the personalities are switched. Mm-hmm. So you have a bouncy, bubbly Sans. Also, Underswap doesn't really have an original creator. Mm-hmm. We just like to say that it was created by the fandom. Because I think it was a community effort. So you have Sans, who is very energetic and wants to do the best he can.
I've seen him and I think he's cute because he's a little good boy.
He's a good boy.
He's a little good boy.
And then you have Underswap Papyrus, which everyone loves and I actually hate. And I hate it even more because apparently we're really compatible or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't like him though. I just don't. I don't know why. There's no reason. Okay, there is. But he's like, the lazy version of Papyrus. I think I'd like to say canon-wise, Sans is still the older brother and Papyrus is the younger still. And I like that version because then it gives Underswap Sans this air of also maturity. Mm-hmm. Instead of just being... Because a lot of people write him very childlike. And I don't like that. Mm-hmm. Because then he's like, and I'm like, no, that's weird.
That's weird and kind of pedo-ish.
Yes. And so I don't like that version, but I do enjoy when people just make him, fun. Mm-hmm. Like, he wants to have fun. And he's childish in his demeanor, but he's not, a child.
Yeah.
So I like that when people portray him as the older brother. I like when Underswap Papyrus is he's usually the more nervous one. Sometimes he's cool and chill and suave and he's like, hey girl, and he smokes a cigarette or whatever.
Oh, he smokes?
Yeah. Oh, everyone loves to put him with a cigarette, but they also...
He doesn't even have lungs.
Yeah, I know.
I was about to say he's going to get lung cancer, but he doesn't have lungs.
But I really like when people just give him a lollipop.
Oh, it's a a 4Kids edit.
Yeah. So I prefer when they give him a lollipop. He just sucks on a lollipop.
So dumb. I
know. So he's usually he's basically Sans but taller and gross, or I just don't like him.
Okay. So is he because Toby Fox, for his original pilot of Undertale, basically had at least one of his ideas was Papyrus as this for lack of a better word, a brony.
Yeah.
Who was a red pill internet guy who had a fedora. Is that what he's like?
No.
Okay.
He's not like that. He's usually just kind of awkward, and usually people portray him as being this suave motherfucker, but really he's not. I like when people portray him as he makes puns, he likes to piss off his brother. He is actually usually portrayed as more nervous than the original Sans, at least in a lot of the media that I've liked. But yeah, he's basically just a taller version of Sans.
So what's the appeal of Underswap's Sans?
Okay, of Underswap Sans, I like that he's more jovial. I like that he is more bouncy. and I always describe him as bouncy. He's
just a little ball boy. You're gonna bounce him.
I like him because he usually has the maturity and plus the nice aspect of Papyrus. So it's like if Papyrus wasn't as naive. Mm-hmm. Although people like to portray him as really naive a lot. Mm-hmm. But my favorite portrayals of Underswap Sans is whenever he's like, really happy and like he wants to be your best friend, but also he has enough emotional maturity to realize whenever you're like sad or if you're something happens, he like can kind of connect with you with it. He feels like a real person. Mm-hmm. He doesn't feel like just like this one stereotype. Or I guess Sans feels like a person too, but he's more of the apathetic version. Mm-hmm. Whereas Underswap version is more of the I want to do something to help.
So he has more empathy.
Yes, usually. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy that version.
I do love characters with high empathy.
Yeah, and usually he has it.
Because you don't see that a lot. You see a lot of Sans,
nihilistic.
Yeah, Sans is
very nihilistic.
Yeah, and that's why I think he's popular is because he's nihilistic, and you see a lot of nihilistic characters, which I don't like, especially now with how the world is. You can't really have a nihilist outlook like, oh, the world's gonna end. Might as well do fucking nothing. No,
might as well do some meth.
Which version of Sans does meth?
None to my knowledge.
None to your knowledge.
I do remember it was one person making their own little alternate universe that was based on like the 7 sins. Mm-hmm. And so, they had one person that represented lust, blah, blah, blah. Some people did drugs in that, but it's not very popular. So, and I don't know anything about it. I just remember seeing designs. Mm-hmm. So more with Underswap. So those are the main two. You also got Undyne, who is now the scientist, and she's nervous and very smart, and also best friends with Papyrus still. Mm-hmm. Usually they're still best friends, so they're like science buddies, and they do like experiments together. It's really cute.
That's cute.
And then you also have Sans and Alphys, where Alphys is like this buff, like short, military gal, and she really goes hard on Sans. Not like aggressively, but like she's like, you gotta work, and it's like, yeah, and so they just like fight each other.
That's adorable.
Yeah,
that's adorable.
They're fantastic. Listen, that's the best aspect I think of the Underswap universe is just the dynamic between Alphys and Sans and Undyne and Papyrus. I think it's adorable. You also have Asgore, Daddy Asgore. He now lives in the ruins, and he's like really sweet. He makes you tea, and he's like, please, my child, please stay here. And he's just really sweet. Mm-hmm. Where like Toriel is like the queen now, and so she's kind of cold, but also mournful. And it's just a nice dynamic. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think like if you're really into Undertale, it is fun to like mix it up. But you do see like different fandoms that like have swap characters because like they like a change of pace and a different dynamic, and it's like fun to like see like what if the character was like this? Woo! It's the Twilight Zone.
Doo, doo, doo. Oh, that's not the Twilight Zone.
That's straight up Doctor Who. That is the theme song.
I don't know this shit, man.
So what's another like popular universe?
As of late, there's this one that's popular, but it's also really confusing because there's 2 different versions of it. It's Swap Fell and Fell Swap. They are 2 different things, but they represent Fell Swap and Swap Fell. I still don't know the difference, but they're basically both Underfell but swapped. So you have the personalities switched like in Underswap. Mm-hmm. So think of like joyful, happy Sans and like tall, anxious boy Papyrus. Now make them evil, and that's Fell Swaps. That swap Fell. Now, the difference between the 2 is one of them has a purple color theme, and they have different personalities, and the other one has the red and black theme, and they differ. It's like the same idea where it's evil, but they swapped. But because there were 2 different creators and they're still pretty active in the community. Well, I don't know if they're even active. They just were very adamant about being separate. People really don't know which one to fucking represent anymore.
And do you know their names at all?
No, because they are either Japanese or Korean. I don't remember which. language. And that's another reason why a lot of, at least English speakers in the fandom, don't know the difference between the two, because both of the creators come from a different language background. So we have to just inference a lot of the stuff, and also have poorly translations. So not a lot of people like to mess with them. There is a generalized fanon version of them, though, that is, we call it Fel Swap usually. I think. No, we call it Swap Fel usually. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's super confusing even to me. But the basis is you have little tyrant evil Sans. He's adorable. I love him. He's like, It's like, you know that Vine where there's like, the boss wants a word with you. He's like, you think you can talk to me? It's literally that.
Is that fucking Prosy?
Yeah. And so he just walks around. He's like, he's a little tyrant. He's very intimidating, but he's also like 5 foot. And then you have Swatfell Papyrus, who is usually a gross dude, like where he is usually portrayed in a sexual sense. That's another reason why Swatfell's not very popular, because it's usually very. There's also the part of the fandom that does the brother cess shit, and that is also extremely popular, especially with Fel Swap or Swap Fel.
No thanks.
Yeah, so
no thanks.
I don't like that part. But Papyrus is basically like his brother's dog. Like they usually have the nickname the dog. And not even in reference to anything sexual, just because he is his brother's like little minion, basically. He'll do whatever his brother tells him to do.
I don't think I'd like that.
Yeah, Swapfell is definitely a lot more aggressive and sad than Underfell is. Because at least Underfell, the brothers have some kind of like, they can do what they want to a point. Like sometimes people portray Underfell Papyrus as like this tyrant to Sans, where he's like beats the shit out of him and is like, but whatever. Yeah. I don't like that version. Moving on. Then my favorite part of this alternate universe is Undyne.
Go on.
She is not only a smart scientist gal, but also a crazy scientist gal who wants to like open your guts and like turn you into a robot or whatever. And I love it. There used to be this great art. I don't know if it's on there anymore because Tumblr is a fucking shit show now. But there's this great art.
When hasn't it?
True. And there's this great artwork of her like with a chainsaw. And she's all crazy looking and like she's just a nut job. And then Alphys is usually portrayed as like kind of this stone cold like warrior type. Isn't really emotive. Just kind of is there to be the bodyguard. Doesn't usually have a lot of personality, honestly. But I think that's mostly because people focus on the brothers rather than the rest of the world. So it's pretty much like Underfell but swapped.
Okay, Is there any other ones that you want to like talk about that are like really popular?
Horror Tale. Horror Tale is very popular because it actually has a comic that goes with it, and it's more concise.
And who's the comic by?
Sour Apple. Sour Apple Studios. That's who makes it. She makes this comic. She also made a little interactive game with it too, where it's Undertale, but it's after a neutral run happens and Frisk doesn't reset. And they run out of food in the underground and they start to starve. So they kind of go a little crazy. And whenever the other character, her name's Eliza, falls into the underground.
So another child? Or?
Yes, another child. Some people like to say that it's Frisk's daughter or whatever, but also that's giving a gender to Frisk. So that doesn't have any connection with the fanon, the canon. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The canon is it's just a new person who falls down.
So if some people say it's Frisk's daughter, then how does that work?
They usually say it's Sans's.
Gross. Moving on.
Anyway, so that's fanon shit. So Eliza falls down to this world where all the monsters are hungry as shit. And so they're kind of tinged with madness a little bit. So in this universe too, Sans has a big gaping hole in his head. And he only has one like glowing red eye. He's really scary. He also carries around an axe. Which is why people give him the nickname Axe.
So in this universe, has it been different the whole time? Or is it the same Undertale universe?
It's the same Undertale universe after a neutral run.
Okay.
So
this is a what if scenario of what if Frisk never came back after a neutral run.
Okay.
They never reset, they just left.
Okay.
So the monsters don't get out of the underground. I think in this
How'd
version,
that bitch get out? How'd they get out?
Because after you defeat Flowey with all the souls and shit, you have the option to just leave.
Right, you do. You do just have the option to leave.
And the souls all disappeared, so they're back to square one.
Yeah.
So they lose hope. They're running out of food. The core is dying. Their power source.
Yeah.
And so they're desperate to try to find a new way to survive. And Sans tries to help keep people's spirits up a little bit. So does Papyrus really badly, but eventually it starts getting to everyone. And then one day Alphys comes up with an idea to try to save the underground, which was to take Sans' eye and use it as a power source, because he in this universe houses like a great. He's connected to Gaster,
yeah.
Who made the core.
So, first off, I think we need to explain.
Gaster.
Yeah. Who dat?
Gaster is this mysterious individual who we think made the core. He does not exist in the video game exactly, but he is hinted at with there are these
and this is the original.
Yes, this is in Undertale, like the game. There are these, I can't remember what they're called, but they're called something events. Like a happy event or something. It's depending on a random score you're assigned each time you reset the game. You have a chance of encountering a weird event at certain points in the video game. Some of these are really common or kind of common. Like, for example, there's a weird event that can happen where if you're walking through Snowden for the first time, once you hit a certain point, you get a call from Sans, where you don't even have his number yet. You met him once, and he's like asking you for the brewskis or something. It's so dumb. So like there's random events that can happen, and one of them is you can go to this little area in the waterfall. In Waterfall, and you see this like grayed out image of Monster Kid. And you go up and talk to him, and he says some cryptic shit about the doctor or something, and then he disappears.
So Gaster in the original game is kind of like a glitch, or like probably like in game terms he's a glitch, but in like the universe he's like I believe he fell into the core and like people forgot him.
He fell into his creation and people forgot who he was. Okay. And people like to say that he's connected to Sans and Papyrus because who else is weird and stands out and doesn't make much sense as them.
And Gaster, I don't know if it's original art that Toby made or if it's fan art, he kind of looks like a skeleton.
A little bit, yeah. In the original, he's like this weird blob thing with like a weird face, and he like disappears. He's like, "Mom," whenever you talk to him.
Yeah. So, because in this universe, the what's this fandom universe called?
Horror Tale.
In Horror Tale, because of Sans' connection with Gaster, he has like a powerful eye. Yeah. And that's also a thing in the fandom where you see him with like his one eye glowing with the little streak of blue.
So, in this one, basically Undyne fucking cracks his skull open, takes his eye out forcefully without his consent, and takes it basically. And she goes crazy. Also,
my eye now.
She goes crazy to the point where she actually starts beating Papyrus. Like she punches his teeth in. His teeth are all fucked up. She's just awful in this version. She I think also starts consuming determination, and that's also part of the reason why she's going a little bit crazy. So Sans is fucked up. He can't think straight normally. He also, because everyone's starving, whenever you come into the underground, you're prime meat. So everyone's really hungry and wants to eat you.
Now, could that also be portrayed as a sexual?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this artwork that I saw once.
Disappointed, but not surprised.
It's Sans eating out the player, but then he actually eats like them. It's pretty horrifying. But it's also Horror Tale, so.
Yeah, disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah, anyway, I enjoy, a lot of people like Horror Tale because of the horror aspect. It's got a unique style. Sour Apple Studios does a great job illustrating it. And I really enjoy fanfics that have them just randomly teleported to a great world where they have food and can be happily taken care of, because then you can shelter these poor boys who have suffered.
That's the thing. I feel like a lot of fandoms like that have AUs where you're like angst, but then they're also like, let me take these people who have all these angst and then put them in a good happy universe and they're happy.
Yes.
So there's definitely like a feeling of like, I'm going to take this regular character, plop them into a world of angst, and then plop them back into a world of love.
Yeah, basically. Let's torture them and then take care of them again.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think a lot of people put their own pain and suffering onto characters. The thing my dad says a lot is write what you know. So people who have been through some really tough shit sometimes put characters in very tough situations. And I think it's a part of coping and healing to write out these situations where a person's been through a really rough situation but has someone else who comes in to help them. Like that they have help. Because it helps them, especially with me, I love reading shit where Sans just shows up and basically whisks you away or whatever, because it's like kind of a fantasy, where like, oh, let me help these poor boys, or in this fantasy I'm going to receive love from this other individual. And this isn't just with Undertale either. This is with I think anything.
Oh yeah, with anything, for sure.
And,
there's definitely like a fantasy escape.
Yes.
To it.
So a lot of people, I feel like, write angst and difficult stuff like that as a form of coping. It's also why I don't like when people get mad at authors and artists whenever they're like, you're drawing disgusting shit and blah 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 blah. How could you do that to this character? And it's like,
it's therapy.
It's therapy, one, and two, it's also, it doesn't exist. They're not real characters. They do not really exist. It's not like you're writing like some weird shit about Justin Bieber, like going
How topical.
How
topical is that Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber, I don't. Is that topical? I don't
know.
think it is.
I don't think no.
Anyway, so it's just a way people like to help themselves. I think.
And I do think that's great. But there's also like there is this there's idea of like, write what you want. Who the fuck cares? But also, I think you do need to be careful with that too, because like, oh, it's just a character, Then people will also apply that to like incestual relationships and pedophilia. So I do think when you say that, you do need to be like careful about that. But I do agree.
I think those topics need to be discussed, though.
Yeah.
They
but like how some people handle it is not great.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm definitely nervous about constricting people to certain things, because when you start constricting what people can write, you really limit creativity. And like, I know, like, just don't, as long as you're not literally drawing child porn or writing child porn, I don't have a problem. Like, with the Sans X Papyrus shit, there's all sorts of reasons they come up with why it's okay. Like, what was the first one? How they're not technically biological brothers or something like that because they were created in a lab or whatever. Or I don't like Papyrus and Sans at all. What I do like, though, is Sans and Sans from a different universe. I love that.
That opens a door for a discussion of, is that incest or is it masturbation or is it sex?
I'd say it's, even though it's a different version of yourself, they're different enough that they're different people. So it's like being in a relationship with another person that looks very similar to you.
That's kind of some egotistical shit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely. It's great whenever you read fan fictions because they talk about that. They're like, am I just really into myself? And they're like, fuck yeah, you are. And it's like, what the shit?
That's like masturbating with a mirror or something.
I would be, listen, if I met an alternate version of myself that was totally down to fuck, I would honestly fuck myself. I'm not even joking. Because who knows your body better than yourself?
But does that version of you like the same stuff as you?
We can figure that out. That's why we have open conversation.
That's right, kids. Consent. Always.
Consent. And it's not like I could get myself pregnant. Anyways. So yeah, I think sancest, that's what they call it, sancest, is fine.
That is That's just the worst.
I enjoy that, especially custard. Custard is a great. Oh, I forgot to talk about the fucking condiments they like. So Sans Original, yes, they all have different condiments they like. Sans Original likes ketchup, okay? Underfell Sans like mustard. So Underswap Papyrus likes honey. What's the other one? Swapfell likes barbecue sauce. Hortel Sans still likes ketchup, and then
but it's got blood in it.
Aha!
Because horror.
Not usually. He just likes ketchup. He really just likes ketchup.
Does one of them like Kool-Aid? Which one's the one that sweats Kool-Aid?
Underfell Sans?
Yeah, does he drink the
No, he does not drink the Kool-Aid. He usually just drinks mustard and or beer.
I'm sorry, but when I hear that, all I can think about is Teen Titans, where Starfire, yeah, she's just loves fucking mustard. That's all I can think of.
That's Underfell Sans basically.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, those are the condiments they like.
So how did that come to be?
Well, because Sans does that gag where he drinks ketchup, and I think people say canonically wise, we don't actually know if this is canon, but they like to say that Sans just likes gross out humor. So he drinks the ketchup to freak you out. He doesn't actually enjoy drinking the ketchup. He just does it because he's a fucking skeleton, and whenever he drinks shit, it goes through him. He's a skeleton. What is he gonna do?
Okay.
So, but people have taken that in the fandom as he just likes ketchup. He just really likes ketchup. And then like the different versions of them all just have this affinity for certain condiments. I think liking honey is a little bit more normal, but
does any one of them like sriracha or like Cholula?
Yes, actually, one of them likes hot
joking.
sauce. There's this. He's called G Sans, where he's like Sans combined with Gaster.
Okay.
And he's like the hot one. He's basically made to just look hot.
Oh.
He's like got a yellow eye.
I think I've seen that one where he's got like he's like tall.
Yes.
And he's like smokes.
Yes.
And he's got like
he's definitely the most boring.
He's got like a crop top jacket.
Yes. And he's
like,
shirtless.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also like Frisk is also kind of there.
Oh yeah, Echo Tail. That's specifically Echo Tail, which I don't know much about because the creator kind of jumped off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to talk about that one. And also, I don't like G Sans that much. So he's usually just portrayed as the cool guy, the suave guy.
Disgusting. Go on.
Anyway, he usually likes hot sauce, apparently, because he's hot, I guess.
So, but what kind of hot sauce? Because there's a whole
lot. In the one fan fiction I saw where he does drink hot sauce, it just said hot sauce. So there's no specific kind.
He doesn't have a brand?
Nope.
My personal brand of hot sauce is Cholula.
Cholula.
This episode is sponsored by Cholula.
Cholula.
So what I'm learning is there's just a whole bunch of Sanses, and everyone is either horny or scared horny of Sans.
Pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Pretty much. That's an accurate description, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So what is it about Sans that draws you in?
At this point,
I should say what part of Canon Sans.
Canon Sans.
Yeah.
I just connected with him a lot. I thought he was really funny, first of all. I found him hilarious. He was the thing that intrigued me to play the game, aside from Flowey. Mm-hmm. And it was the air of mystery, too. There was a lot of, like, what is up with him? He's really funny, haha. I kind of want to fuck with him back, that kind of stuff. And also, I loved his brother. So a lot of it was just him, like, his attitude, his general just, like, weirdness. I think it was definitely the weirdness for me because, I'm also usually the black sheep in, like, every situation. So having this guy who's, like, also a black sheep, but everyone loves him is kind of, like, cool. He's not really a black sheep, I guess. He's just chill. He seems like he has some trauma behind him that he hides with humor. And
we do love that.
Yeah.
We do love hiding our trauma with jokes and goofs and
that's
hot
what drew me to him. But what kept me like intrigued, and I almost got out of the fandom my freshman year of college. I really liked Undertale because it was released in my junior year of high school, which is where a lot of really bad stuff was going down for me. I'm gonna say generically, like it was a rough time.
Yeah,
it lasted a year.
Fucking high school.
Yeah, and so having Sans or just Undertale in general, it was a nice getaway because, like, you know, I could put myself in this other world, and, you know, it really stuck with me because it was like, and it's going to sound really dumb, like Sans was there in a really rough time for me. And so he's kind of what I've been drawn to whenever I'm sad. And it's why I'm still connected to him right now. And I'm not to the point where I'm going to be like, Sans is mine, go away, the other girls, or whatever, stupid shit like that. I don't give a shit. But, like, him as a character is really important to me because the people in the fandom who created all the art and the fan fictions, everything, in the game itself, helped me get through a rough time. They're part of the reason why I made it through that time. So I've just been stuck with it for a while because it really means a lot to me. And it's been years at this point.
Yeah. And I guess that brings it back to the discussion we had about how some people use, you know, fandom as a bit of a fantasy escape. Yeah. But so then how did you get into, like, all of the different Sansi? Is the plural of sans?
It's usually
just
Sanses.
Sanses. And how do you spell Sanses?
SANS apostrophe S. No, that's Sans owns something. SANSS apostrophe. Sans. Anyway, so I got into the other versions just by being in the fandom. You know, on Tumblr, back when Tumblr was better than it was. You know, you just...
Go on.
So, you know, it circulated. I would follow blogs that made, you know, fan art and fan comics. And then, or sometimes they would blog, hey, look at this edgy version of Sans. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Boink. And then I was like, oh, that's hot. Slike. Slike. And then, like, you just, once you're in the fandom, you're open to all this other shit that's in it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's other things I didn't talk about either. Like, there's all these individual Sans characters, like the Era one you were talking about earlier. But
that's the glitch one, right?
Yeah. Era Sans, like, that's in its own whole other territory. They're not even they're alternate universes, but only in the sense that it's a comic.
Oh, wait, I also seen another one because, you know, I watched Gravity Falls, and there's a character who's, like, the cool version of Dipper. So, like, there's, like, a...
You mean Fresh Sans?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's, like, Dippy Fresh, and then there's, like, Fresh Sans.
Okay, Fresh Sans is a joke character. He was created by... Oh, fuck. I think they're called Lover of Piggies. They used to be in the fandom. They also created Air Sans, and they had a comic going where... it was basically Undertale, but after the genocide run, Sans, like, gets some determination or something, and he's stuck in the lock screen, and he tries to go in a different timeline to fuck things up, to try to bring his papyrus back. It's very complicated, but it was really good. But they left the fandom a long time ago.
Okay.
And just kind of left their characters to the wind. You know, people can use them for pretty much whatever.
Because there's literally no copywriting when it comes to...
It's a fan character.
Fan characters. Because, like... This is going to be sort of another discussion of, like, nowadays there's not a lot of public domain characters because copyright laws have become so restricted and, like, grandfathered in, and that has to do with Disney. That's why Disney still has control over the mouse.
And why they don't have control over Spider-Man.
We're not going to get into...
Piece of shit. Fuck you, Disney.
We're not going to get into that.
I hate Disney.
But, so like with fandoms, it's all basically public domain. And like there's definitely like a creator, but most of the times the creator's like, okay, just do what you want, I guess. But yeah, so I kind of like that aspect of fandom. There's like this sort of like public domain freedom of like whatever.
Yeah, I definitely like that aspect too, and that way you can kind of input your own character traits on these characters, and it's...
So is there any creators, artists, fanfic writers, animators that you want to shout out about, like...
Potax, fucking fantastic, makes great comics, portrays Underfell Sans in a fantastic light, where he's not just like, ooh, let me get in that pussy, but he's like actually a normal person, sort of, but like an edgy person. Anyway, point is, fantastic writer, fantastic artist, check her out, definitely should buy her shit. She makes great charms, great body pillows.
And you do own a few things.
Yeah, I own 2 of her charms. I own the Horror Tale Sands charm and the Underfell Sands charm, and I also bought her Underfell Sands body pillow, which is nicely designed. Not sexual in any way. He just is.
Is that the one with the ketchup?
The mustard.
The mustard.
The mustard boy.
The mustard boy.
The mustard man.
The Starfire one.
Yes. Okay. So she's great. Also a great person who writes fan fiction. They're not really active right now, but they're called Tyrant Torties.
What do they do?
They write a lot of fan fictions. Their most popular one was actually a Frisk at Sands one, but where you're Frisk, like you are Frisk, and it was very well written. And Tyrant Tortoise. They also have a fan fiction going on with it's called like The Landlady and the Skeleton Squatters, which is basically
I believe you told me that one before.
Yeah, it's where you're the reader, you get kicked out of you have a fight with your abusive boyfriend. You drive back to this cabin that your grandfather left to you in your will because you just don't have anywhere else to go, and you go in there and you just see skeletons everywhere, and you're like, ah! And you're like, what the fuck? And they're like, we didn't think anyone lived here. And you're like, yeah?
So this takes place in our world or in
Undertale universe, but some shenanigans happened that brought everyone else here.
Gotcha.
So that one's fun, very enjoyable to read. Tyrant Tortoise is a great artist and a great author and just enjoyable to read. I'm trying to think of the other main ones.
So there's also another thing that we didn't really touch on when it came to like creators, and that would be voice recordings, which is something that you have told me about. What's that? Tell me what that is.
Okay, so audios,
that's it.
It depends on the type of audios you want to talk about. Obviously, people voice act comics. They used to do that a lot on Tumblr before Tumblr became a total shit show. Now they just do it on YouTube. But people also, do not safe for work audio, where, Sans basically fucks you, and it's very nice. But people don't do it anymore, and it's very sad.
And is there anyone in that part of the fandom you want to shout out?
I would, but he left completely. There's some other people, but they're really not active, so not really. It's just all old shit. Oh, there is one person. He doesn't really do NSFW audio, but he does fun audio. He's called Improvidence 318, and he voices Mafia Fell Sands, which is just Underfell Sands, but deep gruff voice. It also, he's a mobster, yes. Hey. And he voices him very well. He's very comical. He's still active right now. He doesn't really do any sex recordings. He just likes to have fun. So I enjoy listening to his stuff. It's fun. I think he's the only voice person I want to shout out. There's also, she never updates, but Raccoon Sin Queen. She's the one who made 6 Skeletons and 1 Maid. The classic, the one and only, the thing that started the whole Reader X 6 Skeletons meme. Because that's very common in the fan fiction world, where it's a a reverse harem? Yeah. It's a reverse harem, basically. Where she writes all the characters like such assholes. Like every character in her fan fiction is a dick. Every single one. It isn't just like Underfell Papyrus, although he's the worst. Everyone has like a horrible aspect to them. And I kind of love it, but also hate it because they treat the reader like shit. But not in like, it's only rated T for teen. So like nothing bad happens. Bad happens. It's just a weird thing. It's enjoyable to read though. I like reading the shenanigans that happen in that. It's pretty good. She hardly updates though.
Well, good to know. So here's the main question, the thesis of...
What's the thesis?
The thesis for this episode and every episode is, should I get into it?
No. Because it's a dying fandom that is quickly losing traction. And I know as a person who has been a part of dying fandoms for a long time, It's very hard if, like, say you get into Undertale, and if Undertale for some reason never updates or people just lose interest in it completely, and then you have no new options, you can just be stuck and kind of sad looking for more material, and you never will find it because people have left. There's also, it's just not for everybody. If you enjoy Sans and you really like Sans, sure, come in, join. That's what everyone talks about pretty much. But if you specifically like the other characters, there are other... You can still join the Undertale fandom. You just have to, I think, focus on the Reddit. The Reddit is a lot more Undertale video game focused rather than alternate universe focused.
Yeah, so like the Reddit is more like looking at like the deeper meaning.
I believe so.
And like the gameplay.
I think so. From what I've seen, yes. Don't take my word on that though, because I know there's also a Reddit for Undertale, like as in the porn version. Don't look at that one because it's all just big titty versions of all the characters.
That's the worst.
Which is even worse. Personally, I think people always talk about, oh, it's weird that you put a dick on Sans. I think it's weirder that you put giant tits on Kara and Azriel and they're fucking each other. How about maybe you shouldn't give Azriel a huge fucking dick and have him fucking his own mom? How about you not draw that? Yeah, anyway, so don't look at that part. The normal Reddit for Undertale should have a lot of actual video game topics to talk about.
Yeah. Because like the video game, like we've mentioned at the beginning, is very good.
Yes,
Undertale,
very good.
Toby Fox did a good game.
He did a good job.
He did a very good game. And now that we know, Sans is now in Smash Brothers.
He sure fucking is.
He's a skin, but he's in Smash.
Sans wants Smash.
Bros. Yeah.
Sans and Smash. I can't believe Sans Smashed her tail is in Smash.
So now,
Sans under Smash.
Do we have to call him Sans? He's not Sans Undertale. He's not Sans Deltarune anymore. He's Sans Smash Brothers.
Yeah, he's Sans Smash Brothers now.
Okay, well, thank you, Maddie, for being my first guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been FandotDomdotcom. God damn it.
You can't even say it.
I can't even say my dumb name. This has been FandotDomdotcom, and thank you for telling me about Sans Undertale and all of the different versions of him.
You're welcome. Also, no one could see this, but I'm dabbing profusely right now.
Is there anything else you want to say to the lovely audience of maybe like 3 people?
Fuck cringe culture, first of all, because who gives a shit if you're having fun and you're not hurting anybody? So, like, yo, if you want to fuck a skeleton, fuck a skeleton. Well, okay, not a real skeleton, but like...
That's illegal. That is called
necrophilia.
That's necrophilia, and that's illegal.
But anyway, so just like, don't worry about it. It's people give shit to all these fandoms, but really, there's honest to good people in it, and you know, just let people have fun. Don't be a fucking narc.
I knew you were gonna say narc before it came out of your mouth.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, everyone. All 3 people listening to this.
Woohoo!